Hey everybody, it's Joel Peterson here. Hope you're having a great day today. I'm sitting here with one of my really good friends, Martin Howey. How you doing, Martin?
Really good, Joel. It's nice to be with you today.
Good, good. Thanks. I just happened to be down in Phoenix, Arizona for doing some seminars this week, and I thought I'd drop by my good buddy's house and see how he's doing. So I thought we'd just shoot this quick little video. And Martin's an old-time marketer. Hope you don't mind me saying old-time, but he's actually more than you can't see it here, but he's got all these medals for all these races that he's run, and he's done some amazing things throughout his life. And I just like when he talks about different marketing strategies, and I'm like a sponge, and I just soak up all the energy. So I said, hey, can let's just throw the camera on, Martin, and ask you a few questions. So we're here. I'm excited to be here.
Well, Joel, it's great. I'm glad you're here, and it's good to get together with you again. It's been a while since we've seen each other.
Definitely, definitely. So I just have a couple questions for you. We were just chatting a little earlier, and I have a lot of people who are into marketing. They're trying to figure this out, and some people who are maybe younger, they kind of wonder, what do I need to do to make it, or why is it important that I get started young, or what? We were kind of just chatting about that a second ago. I don't know, give us some words of advice about, like, what's a priority? I want to do something. I want to better my life. I want to maybe share some of the words of wisdom you were just sharing with me just a minute ago about what should I do? Not particularly what kind of business you should go into, but I don't know, what should your priorities be if I want to get ahead in life? You mind sharing a couple of those with us?
No, not at all. And thanks very much for the opportunity. Yeah. Joel, we only have a certain amount of time on this planet, and everybody has a different amount of time. And we're all going to have our own various circumstances that we have to live through, and some have greater challenges than others. But I think that one of the most important things that I've learned over my period of time here is that it's important to be able to live life on your terms. Not having somebody else tell you when to come to work, what time to go home, what to do in between those times, and not when you can take a vacation, or when you can take some time off to go visit with your kids' teachers, or when you can go to the practice, but if you can. Yeah. And sometimes we get so tied into the things that we do, the jobs that we do, that life gets by very quickly. Now, we have, Cheryl and I, 6 kids and 28 grandkids. I can't turn the time back and go back and relive any of those times with my kids. Once they're gone, they're gone. This is not a dress rehearsal. I mean, this is real life. It happens in real time. And once that time is gone, it's gone. And unfortunately, some people leave this life without having lived any of their own dreams or desires or goals. They're always living somebody else's dreams or desires or goals. And so I think it's really important, number one, to prioritize and understand, why are you here? What is the purpose that you're here for? And while you're here, what can you do to live life the way you want to live it? Not somebody else's way, but the way you want to live it.
Yeah. And you're one of our, I'll say the word seasoned. You're super fit guy, done all these races and stuff, and you've had some health challenges. You're 69?
68.
68. And in the last few years, you've had some health challenges, I think, that have really kind of made you, I don't know if the words wake up or not, you just kind of come to the realizations. Share, if you mind sharing with us real quick, just like tell us, just share us a little bit about, kind of what happened a little bit and what made you kind of change your perspective a little bit and how you've dealt with that, because it's an incredible story if you don't mind sharing.
Well, thank you. No, what happened was like you said, I was in great shape. I was a cyclist and a triathlete. I had won 2 Arizona State time trial championships on the bike. I've won 2 nationals. I won 8 senior world game titles, 3 world game triathlon titles. So I was in excellent shape. Go to the gym all the time, ride my bike all the time, ran, swam, the whole thing. And one day I was just having problems going to the bathroom. I went to my doctor and they said, well, we better check this thing out. Come to find out that I had a softball-sized tumor right in my lower colon, right where it connects to the rectum. They went in and found that the cancer had spread from my colon and my rectum into both leg bones, my pelvis, my liver, and my lymph nodes. And there was no sense operating. They said, we can't do anything, it's too far gone. We're going to treat it with chemo and radiation. So I went on chemo and radiation. They shrunk the size of the tumor, but now the tumor was blocking the colon. And if the colon didn't get taken out at that point, I might have 2 to 3 days left. So it was an emergency kind of a thing. They went in, pulled 14 inches of my colon out, treated me again for 4 more months of chemo. I went from 182 pounds in really good shape down to 130 pounds. So I lost a lot of weight very quickly. 18 months, 22 months, 18 months in bed, 22 months trying to recover. We went through a lot of our savings. Fortunately, I had some money set aside, which a lot of people don't have, by the way. I mean, you live from day to day on your income. And what happens is, if you draw a graph, and you go about halfway up this graph and you draw a line across, that's your income. And most people's income is pretty stable, right? Because they have a salary, and they get the same amount all the time. Then you take a look at your expenses, you plot that on there. Sometimes the expenses are right where that line is. We live according to what we make. And sometimes we spend more than we make, and sometimes we spend a little bit less. But it tracks pretty much along that income level. But when you get sick and can't work, or you have an accident and can't work, all of a sudden your income goes along and it stops. It drops to the bottom. Your expenses keep going, but they now go up because you have some additional expenses in there that you didn't have before because of your sickness and the insurance problems and doctor's bills and all the rest. The last 4 months of chemo was $205,000 that we had to cover. Now, it's expensive, and I had no idea in the world I would ever get this situation. Now, here's the thing. I went back and I started looking at what the survival rate is for stage 4 colon cancer. Stage 4 colon cancer, 1 year later, after diagnosis, it's 41%. 2 years is 21%. I just passed 2 years a couple of weeks ago. Awesome. At 3 years, it's 12%. At 4 years, it's 7%. And at 5 years, the survival rate is only 5%. So 100 people starting off, the same place I was, 5 years later, 95 are gone. I know my time is limited. Now, I may be able to blow that out of the water and do very well and continue on, but I may not be able to. Statistically, I won't be able to. Now, I realize that my time is limited. Now, we all have a limited time. Now, any one of us could walk out the door and get hit by a truck or a bus or a car or whatever, or we could get sick, or any number of things could happen. But the point is, each one of us has a limited amount of time. Now, for me, it was a wake-up call. I said, I need to figure out what can I do. If I'm given a second chance, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? How am I going to live our life, my life? Now, I realize that there are some things that are controllable and some things that are not controllable. So the things that are not controllable are the weather, the gas prices, the economy, what those clowns back in Washington are doing, what your neighbor's doing, how the other person drives or takes care of themselves. You can't control those things. So why do we even discuss those? Why do we spend any minute of our time doing that? The things that are controllable are attitudes, our faith, the amount of exercise we have, what we put in our body, what we eat, what we put in our minds, how we think. Those are the kinds of things, the service that we give to other people, how we take care of other people, what our attitudes are towards other people. Those are the things that we can control. So I would say that one of the things that's most important is controlling the controllables and let that other stuff go. Should we work about trying to fix the economy, or should we work on electing the right people? And yeah, absolutely. But it's nothing we should really spend a lot of time and stress over. We have so much that we can do with ourselves. If we're going to change the world, we need to start with changing ourselves. And I think that was my wake-up call, is what can I do now? If I had a second chance, what can we do? Now, every day we have a second chance. Every single day. You don't have to wait till you get sick. You don't have to wait till you have an accident. You can change your life today. So it's what we're going to do from this point on, and how we're going to affect other people.
Right. I love that. And I'm so glad to hear that you're a fighter, and I think you're going to be with us for many, many years. But you know what? There's one thing, and a lot of times people say, you know, hey, you're all this business stuff, all you're talking about is money, money, money all the time. You know, people will say that sometimes to me, and you know, I say, you know, these goals that you have in your life, the ability to spend more time with your family, with your loved ones, to be able to, you know, work less and do what you want, do the things you want to do. It takes money to be able to do a lot of those things. I mean, money doesn't buy happiness, but I tell you what, it can make life easier when you have medical things, when you do want to take an extended vacation. You shared with me how you rented vans for your family one year, cars, and all your kids. You went down to San Diego and you had just an enjoyable time. And so a lot of people that I talk to are really living paycheck to paycheck out there, really. And I was in that situation not too many years ago, where I'd have like $100 in my bank account at the end of the day, before the next paycheck. And a lot of people are in that situation. What would you say, what was one motivating factor, would you say, that would help someone take action? Because that's what it takes. All that stuff you just said, it takes action to be able to do all those things. You've got to do something. You've got to make that change. You've got to have a better diet. Something's got to motivate you to do it. I don't know if you can think. I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but what would you say? What would be the motivation for you to get that plan B going, to have that better relationship? Can you think of one thing that
Well, I think, Joel, one of the things is you have a choice, and life is made up of choices. You have a choice to do something or to not do something. And if you're going to do something, you have a choice to do A or you have a choice to do B. And people say, well, plan A didn't work, but now let's try plan B. And plan B didn't work. Well, guess what? There's 26 letters in the alphabet. There's no sense reason why you have to stop with one.
Yeah.
All right, so I really think that a key is first of all, deciding what is it you want. Now, I was mentioning earlier that we were at a wedding reception, and they had a camera, and they went around to every person at the table at this wedding reception, and they said, what word of advice would you give to the newlyweds? What would you tell them? And I said, fix the money problem as soon as you can. And the reason I say that is because you never know what's going to happen. Now, I had no idea I was going to get cancer. No idea in the world. I mean, why would I get checked? Why would I even think about this? Because I was in such great shape. But the fact is, I got cancer. And luckily, I had enough money set aside to be able to keep our living expenses going for that 2 years, and to be able to pay the additional medical bills and doctor's bills and hospital bills and surgeons and $205,000 in chemo, not counting the original chemo and the radiation. And we had that situation taken care of. Now I'm back rebuilding my business. But here's a thing I would take a look at. There are some things that you can do to head that kind of thing off. First of all, take good care of yourself, take good care of your attitude. Realize you do have a choice, and everything you do, life is made up of choices. The second thing is make sure that you have something in place, a plan of some kind. Now, in my case, I had money set aside because my business was doing very well, and I did real well. The problem is we went through our savings, a good chunk of our savings to do that. We're still okay, but we went through a lot of our savings. Another way to do that is have some type of a passive revenue stream that's set up so that your income continues on without you having to be there.
Right.
That's called a system. You see, there's no security in a job. People say, well, I'm a valued employee at this job that I have, and if anything happens, they're not going to get rid of me because I'm too valuable to the company. Well, what if on the upper end something happens in corporate that affects us down here? There might be a merger, and your job now becomes redundant because there's somebody with a parent company that comes in and buys you out that does the same job you do. There's no security in the job. The security is in your ability to do whatever you need to do to create an income in whatever situation the economy's in.
Yeah.
One of the best ways to do that, one of the best ways to hedge against that is to have some type of a revenue stream that comes in without you having to be there to do it.
Right. I love what you said. Fix the money problem as soon as you can, and have a system and talk. Something you're going to follow that's going to bring in a residual income, something that will come in. And everyone knows I'm a big believer in that. One last question for you: have you ever made mistakes in all your business things that you've done? And is that okay to make mistakes?
Well, if we did make a mistake, you wouldn't be alive, right?
Exactly,
I mean, every single one of us makes mistakes, and I was just here reading something the other day. In fact, we hear about Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron. They've had more strikeouts than they had, but that's what made them successful.
Right.
And I just learned the other day, I was reading something, and Michael Jordan holds a record for the number of missed baskets, missed shots. But he also holds a record for the number of made shots, right?
There you go.
So we're going to make mistakes. And here's the thing. If you make a mistake, it's only a mistake if you allow it to be a mistake. Look at it differently. Look at it as a learning experience. Here's one more way that didn't work. Let me find another way to do it. Could you imagine a baby that is trying to walk and they try to stand up and they fall down and say, well, I've given up, I'm never going to do that again?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. The baby continues to get up, they'll bump their head on the table, they'll fall down, they'll skin their knee, they'll cry, they'll do everything, but guess what? Pretty soon they're up and they're walking, and then they're taking more steps, and then pretty soon they're running around the house. The next thing you know, they're running a marathon.
Right.
It all comes from making mistakes and from learning. Well, that didn't work. What can we do now to make it work? So yeah, I've made my share of mistakes, in fact, probably more than my share of mistakes, and we'll continue to make mistakes.
Great.
But that's how we grow.
That's how you grow. You said it. Well, thanks. Great words of advice, Martin. Thanks for taking a few minutes and sharing these words of wisdom with everyone today.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks.
Okay.